Hello and welcome. We're about to embark on a journey into the SlumberScape. For those of you who struggle to find peace and sleep, or even just quiet a busy mind, this voyage is for you. Tonight we'll be venturing deep into a mysterious forest in search of the old witch's cottage. But before we do this, let's start off with a mental exercise to help you wind down. Now, we need to start breathing in slowly and deeply. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Now, imagine you're standing at the top of an old stone stairwell. Keep breathing in and out. Now, with each step you take down the stairs, I want you to focus on relaxing. We'll start at 5. Feel the tension in your neck and shoulders. Let it go and allow them to relax. Keep breathing in and out. 4. Feel any tightness in your core begin to loosen up. Your body is beginning to feel slack and heavy. Breathe in and out. 3. Feel your arms begin to droop and become heavy as all tenseness leaves them. In and out. 2. Your legs are now becoming relaxed and limp, sinking into the bed. Breathe in and out. And 1. You are now completely relaxed and lying heavy in your bed. And now, the time for our journey is upon us. You didn't know how long you had been walking. The deep, dark forest was dense and lush with foliage. You had decided to go out for an evening walk to calm your mind. But somehow, along the way, you had lost the path. The sun had since set and washed the forest in an inky blanket, and it began serenading you with the beautiful chorus of night. You thought perhaps you should be vexed by your current situation, but you were not. Instead, you were filled with the sensation that only the soft caress of nature can bring one. You knew you needed to find your way home, but for the time being, you were enjoying the way. The sky was crystal clear above and shone gentle starlight down through the treetops. Everything was washed over with a gentle misty blue light from the full moon. You looked up to the softly twinkling stars above. They were simply dazzling. You were far, far away from the city lights, so the heavens danced joyfully above you. An owl cried somewhere off in the distance, a sad and lovely song. Everywhere around you, the forest was beginning to spring to life. Though the flowers had curled into themselves, bedding down for the night, it seemed much of the wildlife was just waking up. A gentle wind began to pick up, tickling your shoulder and rustling through your hair. It was soft and gentle, and carried on it the distant sound of frog songs. As you directed your gaze back down to the forest glen around you, a faint glimmer caught your eye. It was quick, but you saw it for sure. And then again, soft blues and purples, jolly little lights dancing in the night air. You'd heard of such things before. Will-o'-the-wisp. The name danced across your tongue. It tinkled like the name alone held an ancient magic. Something in your chest told you not to fear these wisps. They were not here to lead you astray. No, these wisps were here to guide you. You slowly approached the flickering wisps. They did not flee from you as you neared. They floated joyfully about, like glowing jellyfish in the night air. The light they gave off was warm and gentle, They twinkled in excitement at your presence, willing you to follow after them, so follow you did. The wisps began to lead you deeper into the forest. Your feet gently treaded across soft patches of deep green grass, already wet with a sparkling dew. The sound of crickets singing their merry song encouraged you onward, cheering you to your mysterious destination. The large pine trees all around you were tall and strong. Their bumpy bark grew rough and rigid, but was softened in places by fluffy patches of bright green moss. This was no ordinary moss, though. As you looked closer, you realized that this moss, not unlike the friendly little wisps, was also glowing. In fact, all around you, the forest began to light up. The little veins in the leaves of the trees and bushes lit up with the same gentle glow, as well as the stems of the flowers. Everywhere you looked, a beautiful glowing light show was on display. What really caught your eye, however, were the brilliantly sparkling little mushrooms growing here and there. Not only did they glow from their frills underneath, but their caps glittered like they were covered in tiny gems. You bent down to pick one up. With a gentle pop, it came free into your hand. It was a curious little object. It radiated a comfortable warmth into your palm, unlike any plant you had ever encountered before. It also hummed gently with a curious, unseen energy. You held it tight in your fist and continued to follow the happy little wisps as they urged you onward. As you walked on, you noticed that the forest had continued to change around you. No longer were you surrounded by many mighty firs, but now a beautiful sea of birch trees and willows. The wind blew through their leaves, kicking up a gentle song. Here and there, pieces of the fragile white bark of the birch trees would peel off in the breeze and dance away on the wind. It almost looked like a beautiful rain of flower petals. Among them, the dainty willows rested, their long vines swaying peacefully in a hypnotic, synchronized dance. The sights around you were so very beautiful, but it was what lay ahead that truly caught your eye. It was another gentle glow, but this time it was not from the strange but beautiful forest around you. This time it was the soft, misty orange glow of an old oil lamp. Ahead of you sat a cozy cottage, orange lights glowing in the windows, and fluffy white smoke seeping out of the chimney. The wisps danced madly, affirming that this was indeed what they were trying to lead you to. In a flurry, they floated ahead toward the cottage. As you walked on, the forest began to thin. Little by little, it had opened into a wide clearing. The ground beneath you was no longer tangled and wild. Along the way, you had noticed a small trail of cobblestones forming. Your shoes clacked across the stones of the jolly little trail, and soon you were nearly upon the home. The cottage itself was a cozy little thing. It was made of wood and some brick, and was 2 stories high, but strangely narrow and slightly leaning. It had soft, round arches and curious circular windows, all mismatched. It looked as though some of the wood had, at one time, been painted, but seemingly many years of elements had stripped most of it away. This did not make it appear imposing, however. It instead gave it a charming exterior. It looked very old, very wise, like a place with many stories to tell and many lessons to teach. As you neared, you noticed that the wisps had all zipped ahead and tucked into the little oil porch lantern hung above the door. They nestled down together, apparently ready for their own night's rest. Their lights dimmed a bit, but still glowed softly down onto the door below. It was a strong old door, made of sturdy, thick wood. It had many lines and knots on it, and in the center there was a little cast iron window with stained glass pieces. The glass formed a beautiful picture. It was of a tall, proud old oak sitting on the edge of a pond. Beneath it sat a sly red fox, and above it floated a colorful butterfly. You stared at the door for a moment, wondering if it would be rude to knock at this hour, but after a moment's pondering, you decided to give it a try. After all, the wisps would not have so eagerly brought you here just to leave you standing alone in the dark. So you breathed in a long, deep, drawing breath. You held it in for a few moments, then slowly released it in a sigh. And with that, you slowly lifted your hand and knocked on the door several times. The very moment your hand made contact with the sturdy wood, as if waiting on that very action, a bright light behind the stained glass window came on. You stepped back, startled for a moment, but soon relaxed as you heard a warm, gentle voice call out, muffled behind the door. There was a soft click of a lock undoing before the door swung open, revealing a beautiful, kind-faced old woman. Her eyes sparkled a magnificent bright green, standing out vividly against her pure white hair. Her hair was very long and fluffy. It reached all the way down her back and shone in the starlight. Her face was kind and soft. Countless wrinkles were etched into her face like stunning canyons carved into the gentle earth. Despite this, however, she was positively lovely. She shone with a kind of esteemed grace that only comes with age and wisdom. Her pink lips curled into a warm smile, and in an instant you knew that you were welcome here. When she spoke, it was in a gentle, song-like voice. She knew you had gotten lost, and that you must be tired and hungry. With a beaming smile, she invited you into her home for rest and comfort. With a grateful smile, you nodded and followed her inside. Upon entering, you were immediately at ease. You had never seen such a cozy place before. The walls were filled with countless shelves lined with curious trinkets and ancient-looking books. From the ceiling hung many bundles of drying herbs, and across the room, in a large stone hearth, crackled a welcoming fire. The whole space was warm and comfortable, and she quickly offered you a cozy rocking chair sat before the fire. While you sat and warmed your bones, your eyes further scanned the room. You spotted a display of gorgeous crystals aligned in a circle around an old crystal ball. Many old books entitled spells and potions dotted the room, their yellowed old pages giving off a familiar scent. And upon the fire sat a large cauldron, happily burbling away with some unknown liquid glittering within. You realized that you had stumbled across the kindly old witch of the wood. Though she was a witch, you did not fear her. She was a good and gentle being. You had heard tales of her in your youth. She was in sync with nature and the earth, and used her powers to spread love and comfort to those who needed it. And in your good fortune, on the night you lost your way, she was here to help you. With a soft, grandmotherly giggle, she darted away into the kitchen. You could hear the gentle sounds of dishes clinking about, and a heavenly smell wafted out to meet your nose. It smelled of many delicate spices and of fresh vegetables and garlic. Your mouth watered just thinking about what delicious concoction was responsible for the scent. And not a moment later, to your delight, she teetered out of the kitchen, carrying a tray in your direction. She gingerly passed it over to you, and your eyes widened at the display. Before you sat a big bowl of heavenly, homemade soup, full to the brim with tasty things. Next to it sat a slice of homemade bread and a lump of fresh churned butter. You couldn't help but dig in with excitement. After filling your empty stomach, you suddenly realized how very tired you were. The kindly old witch gave a sympathetic smile and nodded knowingly. Her cabin was cozy and warm, but it was a place of magic, a place for magical folk. Time and space moved differently here, and it was not safe for a normal person to stay long. But the old witch was not alarmed. She knew just what to do. She hurried over to one of the many crowded bookshelves and pried out a large leather-bound book. She ruffled through the pages for a moment before settling on what she had been looking for: a special spell to get you home. She let you help her as she gathered the ingredients around the cauldron. 3 magical bayberries. You searched the countless bottles on the shelves nearby until your eyes fell on the correct one. A little glass vial filled with bright purple dried berries. You handed it over, and she gingerly added them to the brew. Next were 5 drops of glowing moon water. This took you a little longer to find, as her shelves were stocked with hundreds of little bottles of multicolored fluids. But eventually, your eyes settled on a little round bottle filled with a shining, iridescent liquid and the proper label. You continued on like this for a while to come. Ingredient after ingredient were added to the cauldron with jolly little pops and splashes. It gurgled and fumed and sparkled brightly. It seemed as if it were nearly ready when the kindly old witch paused for a moment, a frown on her face. The last ingredient needed was something she did not have. She had run out just the day before, and she had not yet had the chance to harvest more. She needed something very special, a glittering quartz mushroom. You paused a moment, suddenly remembering your trip over to the cottage. A glittering mushroom? That sounded very similar to the very one you had picked and placed in your pocket along the way. You quickly dug your hand into your pocket and retrieved the glittering fungus. At the sight of it, the old witch broke into a delighted grin. This was exactly the thing she needed. With a final splash, it was added to the concoction. Suddenly, the cauldron began to hum and glow. The colors swirled and twirled until they were a soft, milky blue that sparkled like liquid diamonds and gave off the sweet smell of vanilla bean and jasmine. With a steady hand, the kindly witch scooped up some of the swirling potion with a ladle and poured it into a dainty white teacup. She waited a moment for it to cool down and then handed it over to you. She told you that you simply needed to close your eyes, drink the brew, and think of home. And then there you would be. The instructions were simple enough, but yet you hesitated for a moment. You couldn't help but feel a little wistful. You had just had a magical evening, and going home, away from your new friend, would make you a little sad. Part of you was afraid you might not remember that evening once you left this mysterious place. You didn't want to forget. The kindly witch noticed the look of concern on your face and turned around once more to fetch something new. She trotted across the room over to the large crystal display. She bent down and gingerly picked up something before walking back over to you and motioning for you to open your hand. When you did, she dropped something small and light into it. Now, sparkling in your hand was a little pendant. It was silver and delicate and contained a single glowing gemstone. It was warm in your hand and filled you with happy thoughts. The kindly old witch smiled and explained that this necklace was yours to keep. That should you ever feel sad or lonely or want to remember this magical place, you simply needed to grasp it in your hand and close your eyes. The thought of this greatly eased your mind. You thanked her profusely and held the pendant tight in your hand. Taking a deep breath, you picked up the little teacup. You gave her one last thankful smile before closing your eyes and drinking. The taste was sweet and soft, like honey and milk. You drank it all and began to think of home. Your own cozy bed, your comfortable room. Your thoughts gently drifted through your mind. And suddenly, you felt the swirl of a gentle breeze envelop you. The sound of twinkling wind chimes, forest breeze, and cricket calls filled your ears. And then suddenly, it was all quiet once more. You opened your eyes and you were suddenly in your own room. Moonlight spilled through the windows, illuminating your soft, comfortable bed. You released a wistful sigh, thinking of the amazing evening you just had, and looked down to your hand. Still enclosed in it was the delicate glowing pendant. You clutched onto it lovingly as you made your way to your bed. It was soft and plush and did not take you long at all to fall into the gentle embrace of sleep. Your dreams were fanciful and bright, taking you once more to that magical glowing forest. Though you were not sure if you would meet again in person, something told you that you would certainly see her again in your dreams.